By the time Fred wiped his oily hands on the corner of his faded jeans, it was already past 6 p.m. The compound of Alhaji Bello Motors was beginning to empty out, boys closing up their toolboxes, tired apprentices laughing over bottles of warm soda, and mechanics dragging their weary bodies home. Fred stood by the corner, silent, staring at the sky the way a man stares at a dream he's still chasing. He used to stare at computers like that, when life was different, when hope was young, and his shirts were always clean. Fred was a first-class graduate in mechanical engineering, the pride of his parents, the star of his department, the one whose project defense made even the external supervisor nod and smile. Young man, with brains like this, companies will be fighting to employ you. That was what one of the lecturers had said on his graduation day, clapping him on the back. But nobody had thought to employ Fred. For 3 years after graduation, Fred had moved from one job interview to another. He rewrote his CV more times than he ate 3 square meals. He borrowed money to travel for aptitude tests. He stood in long queues under the hot Abuja sun just to submit his documents at ministries. He even did online certifications to add to his degree. Nothing worked. We regret to inform you. We are seeking candidates with more experience. The position has been filled. Fred knew those sentences by heart. The worst part wasn't even the rejection emails, it was the silence. The void. The employers that didn't even bother to reply. The government that made promises during campaigns but forgot the jobless once the elections were over. His classmates were doing well. Those with connections had flown abroad for their master's degrees. Some were working in oil companies. The ones with family in high places didn't even need certificates to start earning big. Some were now married, posting pictures of their newborns, posing beside cars Fred couldn't even afford to enter as a passenger. It wasn't pride that delayed him from coming to the mechanic workshop sooner, it was hope. Hope that maybe, just maybe, something would work out, someone would notice him, one of those applications would turn into an offer. But life had a way of humbling you, especially when you were hungry. It was after one particularly embarrassing moment, when he couldn't afford 200 Nigerian nairas to contribute to his friend's transport fare, that Fred decided enough was enough. He didn't tell anyone. He just put on his old clothes, walked into the mechanic village, and asked to become an apprentice. At first, they laughed. A graduate. First class. Doing mechanic work. Oga, you won't learn mechanic. No play ABI no cruise you dey catch. One of the boys said, laughing with a spanner in his hand. But Fred was serious. Dead serious. He swallowed the laughter, ignored the whispers, and focused on learning. Days turned into weeks. Weeks into months. Now, a year had passed. Fred could now dismantle a whole engine and put it back together. He could tell the problem of a car by just listening to the sound. He even had regular customers who requested for him personally. They liked him, that gentle graduate way sobby book and sobby work. But still, at night, Fred would lie awake in his small, poorly ventilated room, staring at the ceiling, wondering how things went wrong. He remembered his mother's proud smile when he brought home that first-class certificate. He remembered his father boasting at village meetings. My son no engineer oh. First class for mechanical engineering. But in this Nigeria, a certificate was just paper. Connection was the real degree. And Fred had none.